What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson, and today, well, we're recapping that awful loss for the New York Giants that took place yesterday afternoon, and I gotta say this, man, this team is embarrassing with the way that they find new ways to lose. I just can't believe what happened yesterday. A 33-point fourth quarter for the Denver Broncos to sink the New York Giants. 2 missed extra points. It was a cataclysmic failure for the New York Giants. There's a lot of finger pointing and a lot of blaming to go around and to be shared by different members of the coaching staff, the front office, and the roster as well. It's a mess. But I'm actually going to start this, Alex, with a positive note. And I'm going to say this to everybody. The New York Giants have a very promising young quarterback. That should be the number one takeaway that you have from this game. I understand that it's ugly and it's frustrating and the Giants are 2-5 and they keep losing in unbelievable fashion. All of that valid. It's frustrating, yes. But at the end of the day, this 2025 season, going into it, the expectation was it's a bridge year. 2026, when Jackson Dart is the fully integrated starting quarterback, and that's when things are going to really matter, right? Now, we are seeing this bridge year take place. Jackson Dart is in the lineup. He's made the team competitive. We want them to be even more competitive and close out these games. But the number one takeaway in a bridge year is, do you have a future for the New York Giants? The answer is yes. Jackson Dart is super impressive. His resilience, his ability to fight through adversity. We were doing the live stream yesterday, and when there was 150 left in the game and Jackson Dart got the ball back, I said, that's too much time for Jackson Dart. He's going to go down there and find a way to score a touchdown. He did. That took some balls. That took some courage. That took some big playmaking ability from the rookie quarterback. He got that done. His defense failed him. His coaching staff failed him. And that's what we're going to rip into and rant about in this episode, yes. But I want to get the positive out of the way first and say, Jackson Dart's the truth, guys. He looks like an elite potential quarterback. And I'm very excited about that. And I'm going to maintain my excitement about that despite his fourth quarter interception, despite the New York Giants' implosion on themselves in that fourth quarter. Jackson Dart still left me impressed with his ability to perform in high-intensity moments, and that needs to be takeaway number one. So I just wanted to get that out of the way, but nevertheless, a lot to rant about, a lot to be frustrated about. Alex, how are you doing today, my friend, and what is your reaction to yesterday's loss by the New York Giants?
Yeah, man, my reaction to yesterday's loss is I didn't really feel anything when I woke up this morning. Yesterday's loss was so bad, but so expected. You know, it was like, I've seen this story before, maybe not to this level, 33 points in the fourth quarter, and the Giants scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Don't forget that. They scored 2 touchdowns and still lost. 33 points in a quarter, I think however many of them came within the last 5 minutes of the game. One of the most embarrassing defensive showings I've ever seen. Listen, the players got to go out there and play. Holland got hurt, Adebo got hurt, Burns was hurting. But that last play call, there was a couple of things that really were tough. But I know you wanted to focus on the positives first, so I'll try to stay on a topic here before we naturally go into the directions we're going to head into. But Jackson Dart looked like the truth. What I liked from him yesterday, he didn't lean on his legs to do all the dirty lifting, all the heavy lifting. He used his arm, and he had a couple of plays where there were some turnovers and some mistakes, and we'll get to that at some point. Notably that interception in the fourth quarter, which I think was a play calling mistake. Dart made the interception, so he is at fault for sure. But I think that he should have never thrown that ball to begin with. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Dart made throws yesterday that most NFL quarterbacks will never make in a lifetime. That's what the positives are. I watched him convert a 4th and 19 across his body, climbing the pocket. There's not many quarterbacks in the NFL that can make a throw like that. I watched him make a throw off balance, slung onto an out route to Wan'Dale Robinson about 25 yards downfield on the run. What he can do on the run is special. There are things he needs to improve. His deep ball accuracy, which Anthony, you've been talking about, needs to improve. He missed a couple of really big opportunities, explosive plays, but he's a rookie. Those things take time. He'll find his groove. He'll get his mechanics down. They'll work on that stuff. But he's elevating above the coaching staff. He's elevating above the play calling because he's doing things off script. Like, let's keep in mind what's actually happening here. A lot of what he's actually accomplishing is off script. It's beyond the call that's made. It's beyond what Mike Kafka is asking him to do. He's breaking out of structure and then extending plays a lot of times. That's just natural instinct, natural talent. So we know we have a quarterback with natural instinct, natural talent, and that much potential. They need a coaching staff here that can maximize it and build structure around him. So that way it's not always them leaning on his creative magician capabilities to bail them out of bad situations. They need more structure. So, Anthony, talking about Jackson Dart, try to stay on topic here for a minute. I think that what I saw from him, rookie hiccups, some mistakes, very much expected. Very, very much expected. I think he was let down in other ways, though.
He was let down in many ways. Other ways, many ways. Listen, you kind of hit the nail on the head there with the hammer. Jackson Dart does things that we haven't seen Giants quarterbacks do in years, literally years. And I know Daniel Jones is very successful right now with the Indianapolis Colts. He's improved his game. He's being coached properly, but that's part of my point. This kid is coming in without the stink of New York Giants coaching for years and New York Giants losing for years, and look at how special he can be. And that's really the main overarching point that we're going to get to, is that this coaching staff failed Jackson Dart and failed this team in many different ways on Sunday, as they did in Week 2 versus Dallas, as they did in Week 3, I think, even against Kansas City, as they did in Week 5 against New Orleans. The coaching staff has made some serious, drastic mistakes this year that I do not think they can survive. But one last positive note that I'm going to sprinkle on here for Jackson Dart: poise. I've said it so many times before. The number one trait that I look for in young rookie quarterbacks especially is poise. When the pocket collapses, can they navigate it? Can they sense it, sense the pressure, eyes in the back of your head, step up through it, and make plays anyway? Keep those eyes downfield while scrambling. Keep those eyes downfield while stepping up in the pocket. Jackson Dart does all that stuff already at a very high level, borderline elite level already, especially for a rookie. So I'm very impressed, and that's the number one trait that I think translates to long-term NFL success, and he's got that trait. So again, I think he's special, and I think he demonstrated it several times in yesterday's game that he has that poise. He's got that ability to navigate a pocket, to maintain his calm under pressure. He was blitzed on nearly 50% of his passing attempts yesterday. He had 149 passer rating against the blitz. He is incredible under pressure. That's rare. And that needs to be valued by the New York Giants, but it also needs to be maximized. And they're not going to maximize it by sending him out there to die with Lil Jordan Humphrey, Bo Collins, and Jalen Hyatt as 3 of his top 4 primary targets. That is unacceptable, and they need to figure out a way to improve the receiving core over the course of the next few weeks so that they don't stunt the growth and development of this young, promising rookie quarterback. But we'll get to trade deadline wide receiver crap probably in another episode. Let's talk about that moment that you mentioned, Alex. Dart wasn't perfect. He had that interception. It was inexcusable. You can't make that throw. It's a rookie mistake, sure, but it's also a mistake that, honestly, a lot of rookies shouldn't make. That was a bad throw. But like you said, his coaching staff didn't protect him in that situation. There was just over 2 minutes left in the game. The Denver Broncos had only one timeout. If you run the football there, first of all, Cam Scadaboo might pick up the first down because he's running like his hair is on fire. He was running with power, tenacity, and he was picking up at least 4 yards after contact in that game. All you needed was 5 yards. Give him 1 yard and let him power for the next 4. That's all the New York Giants had to do on that 3rd and 5. Instead, they throw the football, they face a blitz. Jackson Dart has his one momentary lapse of reason under the blitz, and he throws the interception. But even if they didn't pick up the first down by running the football on 3rd down, the win probability for the New York Giants probably would have gone to 100% because you're punting the ball back to the Denver Broncos, who now have 0 timeouts, have to go the length of the field, and don't have the 2-minute warning to play with. That was the difference-making moment in the game. Instead, they got the ball back with nearly 3 minutes left inside the Giants' own red zone. That was the play that sunk the New York Giants. And again, it was a poor play from Jackson Dart, but it was a terrible call by the New York Giants coaching staff to get too aggressive in a situation where you had all the advantages in the world and you could have used the clock to kill the Denver Broncos. Instead, the Giants killed themselves by throwing that interception and just choosing to throw the ball on a 3rd and 5 high leverage moment where they could have ran out the clock. That is a coaching error. Yes, Jude McAdam sucks. He shouldn't even be on this team right now. He needs to be cut. I don't know how we're almost 24 hours from yesterday's kickoff and he's still on this roster. Cut him. He needs to be cut for missing those 2 extra points. I agree, guys. No, Jackson Dart wasn't perfect. He did throw that interception. I agree, guys, but you need to agree with me that this coaching staff has found new ways to fuck things up nearly every single time the Giants have lost this season. The Giants are not losing the football teams this year. They are losing to themselves. They are beating themselves in critical situations, and that's how I know this coaching staff is a lame duck coaching staff led by a terrible head coach, and it needs to go.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we see that we have talent, right, guys? We see Brian Burns, we see Dexter Lawrence, and Carter and Jackson Dart and Cam Scott, Andrew Thomas and Illuminor, who both were unbelievable yesterday against one of the best defenses in football. About 32 points against arguably the best defense in football. A rookie quarterback carved them like a Thanksgiving turkey. But once again, the coaching flopped. And I'm not going to sit here and place all the blame on the coaching, because obviously the players have to do it too. But there were critical moments, Anthony, like you had just mentioned. 3rd and 5, you have a chance to make Denver use their final timeout. And if you don't pick up the first down, think about the possibilities, right? It's 3rd and 5. Let's say you don't get any yards at all. Denver uses their timeout. You have to punt the ball, and it lands in their inside their own 20-yard line. Now they now have to march down the entire length of the field with no timeouts, only the 2-minute warning, score, and then Giants get the ball back, and they have no timeouts, and they can just kneel it down. Basically, they can just kneel it to win. That's what could have happened. That's what should have happened. And I said it on the freaking live stream. Why are you passing the ball right now? Run the ball 3rd and 5. Make them use their final timeout. You're in a really good spot to win this game, right? All you need is one first down. You don't even need to. Just run the ball. That's essentially the difference between winning and losing. Was Mike Kafka making a decision, and Brian Daboll, who I don't even know if he does anything, because multiple times throughout these games the last couple of weeks, there's been a chance for your head coach to step in and say, I don't like that play call. We need to change this. Look, if he has the balls and audacity to make the change to Jackson Dart, why does he not have the balls and audacity to make a decision for his team when it matters most in a game, right? He sees that Shane Bowen's calling a play with 8 coverage linebackers, 2 guys rushing the passer, and Dexter Lawrence isn't on the field. And Brian Daboll doesn't have the balls, apparently, to step in there and say, yeah, we're not doing that shit again. We're not doing that again. We're sending our 4 guys. We're making this happen. He makes decisions that are like, okay, we're going to start Jackson Dart. Pull Russ wasn't, but when it comes to actual in-game decision-making, he has nothing to say. In fact, the only thing he has something to say is when he's yelling at his coordinators for making mistakes. You are the head coach. You get to decide. All the blame ends up on your lap anyway. You can't blame anybody else anymore. You can't scapegoat Wink Martindale. You can't scapegoat this guy or that guy. You can't take play calls back, or calling plays back. You need to make executive decisions when you're seeing same mistakes over and over again. Brian Daboll does not make in-game decisions. Simply doesn't. His clock management is some of the worst I've ever seen. His ability to call timeouts, some of the worst I've ever seen. And it doesn't get better. It consistently is a problem. You said it before. This is an issue where the same thing keeps happening over and over and over again. It's not because we have the same players. In fact, we have vastly different players. In fact, we have really good players. But the same problems keep happening because our coaching staff does not learn from their own mistakes, and they don't adjust and apply different tendencies when they need to. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like the players are not at fault too, because I'm absolutely acknowledging that they are. So if you're in the comments saying the players are not, you didn't say the players are at fault, they absolutely were at fault. But we are seeing similar failures from the coaching staff over and over and over again. If we expect the players to improve, if we expect Jalen Hyatt to catch the damn football, or Slayton to catch the damn football, or Dart to get better with throwing the deep ball, we need to expect our coaching staff to not make the same mistakes either. We have to hold them to the same standard. And apparently people are willing to let them get off the hook. So am I calling for jobs? No, that's not my job. That's not my job to call for jobs. What I am saying is that John Mara needs to identify the fact that his coaching staff is holding back a team chock full of talent, holding back a team. That defense went 3 straight quarters looking elite and then imploded because we had bad play calling, and the offense, chance to milk the clock, chance to close out a game. This coaching staff does not know how to win, right? They don't know how to win. They don't know what it takes to win. They don't know how to make critical decisions when it matters most. That is the difference between wins and losses in the NFL. And I think we can all agree here, John Mara put it out there publicly, there is a playoff mandate in East Rutherford, baby. And the Giants are 2-5. There's the hope and the aspirations of this season are dwindling fast. If they don't make the playoffs, man, like, the story's going to write itself. I don't need to sit here and tell you guys, but just coach, the players are elevating. I said it the last couple of weeks. The players elevated the coaching staff, elevated the play calling because of that pure talent. But why do you think the Knicks fired Tom Thibodeau? They needed a coach that was going to be better for the talent. They needed a coach that was going to have more stability, but it's yet to be seen. But they're trying to make sure that that talent isn't the only thing elevating. It has to be the philosophical nature, the ideology. It has to be the execution, the plays, the confidence, the chemistry. The Giants lack a lot of that because of the coaching.
Yeah, and I want to clarify a couple of things there. You mentioned a lot about Shane Bowen. You mentioned Brian Dable as well. There's going to be fans inevitably in this comment section, Alex, who say, how can you blame Brian Dable for this? Shane Bowen needs to be fired. Shane Bowen is to blame. Who hires Shane Bowen? Brian Dable. Who manages Shane Bowen? Brian Dable, who sits in those fucking meetings with Shane Bowen every week and tells him what to call in the fourth quarter. Brian fucking Dable. Do you guys not understand what a head coach does? They manage everything. It's like the CEO of a business. They oversee every little facet of it. They sit in all of those meetings. They have situational play calling tendencies that they discuss together and the head coach signs off on. Shane Bowen says, this is what we do in this situation. Brian Dable says, yes, green light, that's what you're going to do. He has the autonomy to say, no, don't do that. Rush 4, rush 5, blitz in the fourth quarter. He doesn't step in. He doesn't prevent the defensive coordinator from shooting the team in the foot. That's still a head coaching problem. Believe me, guys, it's a defensive coordinator problem, but the issues run deeper. I'll even read it to you from one of the most respected reporters that covers the New York Giants. Dan Duggan of The Athletic today said, quote, and here's the thing, that wasn't a play call made in a frantic situation mid-drive. They had plenty of time to decide how they were going to play that after Dart's touchdown, and Dable always talks about how much they meet about situations during the week. Bowen didn't go rogue there. Dable had to be on board with the approach, end quote. So basically, confirmation that Brian Dable was on board with the rushing 3, dropping 8 approach there in the fourth quarter. I don't know what other evidence you guys need to convince you that Brian Dable is part of the problem. How about all of the delay of game penalties? What the fuck? Excuse my French, but that shit really pissed me off, Alex. How many times did the New York Giants walk up to the line of scrimmage and just give away 5 yards yesterday? I think they had 3 delay of game penalties, and they honestly could have had 3 more with how tight it was snapping the ball close to 0. They couldn't get on the ball quickly enough, constantly just walking out of the huddle. The head coach has to be in the headset saying, yo, get these guys on the line of scrimmage, hurry up, let's move, come on, we can't kill ourselves with these penalties. Instead, he's just standing there, arms crossed, pouting, shouting at Kafka, hey, what are we doing? Oh, referee, go be a leader, go be a manager, be a head coach and do your job. You do nothing, Brian Dable.
He's not doing anything on the field. All he's doing is pacing back and forth with his arms and yelling at people. Like, I don't know what the actual.
He's not a leader.
He's not leading. He's not helping. You know what I mean? He's not helping. He's in charge of the timeouts and play clock. Neither of those things the Giants do well. So I'm like, what exactly does he do? During the game. If you're not, and listen, I watched, and Anthony, it's sickening to me. I watched as Shane Bowen called the same exact play, essentially, as he did against the Cowboys that helped us lose that game. The same exact thing. Except this time we didn't have even Dexter Lawrence on the field. And what happens? Bo Nix is sitting there with all the time in the world, and he just makes a throw, and there's nobody around him. No pressure, no nothing. And you're expecting Deonte Banks to stop people? Is that what we're doing? Like, Shane Bowen, know your weaknesses, dude. Know your weaknesses. You lost 2 of your starting secondary pieces. Deonte Banks is going to get picked on. They were just watching him. They literally just watched him and targeted him immediately. Like, it was obvious. It's just they have no introspective logic and no decision making that says, well, maybe I shouldn't do this because that guy's in there. You know what I mean? Like, they don't think logically. It doesn't make sense to me.
And Alex, Deonte Banks. Ask any random New York Giants fan on the streets, what is Deonte Banks really bad at? Turning his head and finding the football. So, riddle me why Shane Bowen keeps trotting Deonte Banks out there in a man coverage scheme where his back is going to be to the football. At the very least, play some zone. Because what were the Giants in yesterday when they got burned? We always hear this shit from Giants fans. Oh, the soft zone defense from Shane Bowen. It's man coverage that keeps getting them beat. They keep lining up 8 yards off the line of scrimmage in man coverage, giving free releases to wide receivers, or they put Deonte Banks on this man coverage island where his back is to the football and he can't track it and he can't make a play on a contested ball. This is my problem, though, because if you had a better coach and a better coordinator You mask those weaknesses. You don't call those plays to put yourself in a disadvantageous position. You play to your players' strengths, not forcing them to adapt and throwing them out there to die by their weaknesses. But that's what Shane Bowen does every single time he calls a game. It's ridiculous to me. They don't adapt, they don't learn, they make the same mistakes, and they beat themselves. And final nail in the coffin, I'm going to read out to you all what I wrote on Twitter this morning about Brian Dable, because I think this is relevant information, what we're talking about. And then we'll tear into Jude McAdam and we'll talk about some of the specific players. We'll talk more about Deonte Banks, his lack of effort, and all of that. But let me read you this, Alex, from what I wrote on Twitter today about the New York Giants. This season, the Giants have blown 3 two-possession leads versus Dallas, New Orleans, and Denver, including one 3-possession lead yesterday versus Denver. They rank 5th in total penalties committed, 55 penalties in 7 games. They rank 1st in total penalty yardage, 470 yards in penalties called against them. They rank 19th in third down conversion rate, only 39.5%. They rank 14th in fourth down conversion rate, 13.3%. And they rank 26th in red zone conversion rate, 45.8%. This is patternized destructive behavior on Brian Dable. The head coach is the problem. The Giants have a talented roster this season. I think we all agree about that, but they are being held back by coaching. Blame Shane Bowen too, of course, because he sucks, but Brian Dable is his boss. Blame the kicker, but Dable decided which kicker to dress. That's Dable's decision to put Jude McAdam on the field instead of Younghoe Koo. He made some serious mistakes this season that have directly resulted in the New York Giants' losses. This team has been in enough close games to have a winning record by just a fraction of plays. Just a couple of different plays make the difference. But poor coaching has made the difference and has them sitting at 2-5 instead of 5-2. That's my number one point here. There is talent. And if you think, you're going to stunt the growth of Jackson Dart by changing the continuity up and getting him a new head coach, the only way you're going to hurt Jackson Dart is by having a bad coach coach him, and that's what's happening right now. Go look at New England. They fired Gerard Mayo after 1 year. It was controversial at the time. Now Drake May, top 5 MVP candidate. He is thriving. He looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Did firing a bad coach stunt the growth of Drake May? No. Hiring a good coach in Mike Vrabel accelerated the growth of Drake May, and that's what the New York Giants need to learn from that lesson. They need to go ahead and get a good coach who can accelerate the growth of Jackson Dart, because what we've seen from him so far, honestly incredible. One of the most promising young rookies we've seen in the last several years take a field through their first 4 starts. This head coach is holding back this team. I will die on this hill.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a valid take because, like you said, Mike Vrabel's a perfect example of the flip side of that equation. The Giants will likely fire Brian Dable. They will likely fire Shane Bowen, and Mike Kafka's contract is over, I believe, after this, and he walks in free agency. Like, they will ultimately turn the page to an experienced head coach. I don't know who that's going to be. That's a discussion and a topic for another day. But you see the catapulting, the trickle-down effects of bad decision-making, though, right? Because, like you said, Jude McTamanay, whatever. What's his last name? I could keep thinking it's McTamanay.
It's McAdam, but they also kind of pronounce it differently on certain broadcasts.
I'm just going to say Jude. So
Hey,
Jude, get the fuck out of my team. So
hey,
Jude,
and
get
nice
out of
New
York.
York.
Like, I respect him for going and speaking to reporters after that because he knows he's cooked. Like, he knows he's going to get cut. So respect to him for that. But, like, from a pure playing perspective, the Giants trotted out a kicker who, at the collegiate level, had a 63% hit rate, I believe, something like that. Like, bad, really bad. The decision to pick him ends up hurting this team in the most insane trickle-down effects, right? So, like, he misses the early extra point. Like, okay, the Giants are up big, doesn't matter. But then the Giants score right at the end. And by the way, Giants scoring a touchdown with 30 seconds and no timeouts for Denver, that should be game. Like, that should be game. And instead, Bo Nix has hit maybe 2 of 12 deep shots the entire game, and they're playing off ball deep, like dropping 8 in coverage. Like, just he's gonna probably miss it. You know what I mean? Like, rush, send extra blitzers, make him throw a shorter pass. Let your safeties help you over top. So Giants score again. He misses another extra point. Giants would have had a tie game with overtime in store if he makes one of those, right? In fact, if he makes both those extra points, Anthony, the Giants win. That's right, 34. It's 34-33 because now Denver needs a touchdown, right? These decisions from Daboll, these decisions from the coaching staff have trickle-down effects throughout the course of a game. A kicking decision could have a massive impact, as we've seen many times. You look at just poor decision-making in critical moments on defense. You look at the 3rd and 5 when they should have ran the football. Clock management. The Giants, seemingly, if they have a quality control coach, they need to fire his ass because they don't have any quality control, right? Brian Daboll seems to want that control, and he can't do it. He is one of the worst clock managing head coaches and timeout using head coaches I've ever seen. Ever. When we call it out in real time, Anthony, it's easy to see. We're on the live stream, watching the game live, saying, okay, use a timeout here. Okay, run the ball here. Okay, make it. Why are we better at him than this? Why are we making better decisions in real time than Brian Daboll, who's at the game and is a professional head coach making millions of dollars every year? Why are we making better decisions than him on live streams on YouTube? Maybe that's the perspective we need to look at right now. Maybe that's the reason he's got to be fired, because the YouTubers know what to do in critical moments. The Giants clearly don't. They need an experienced head coach who has experience making the right decisions in critical moments. Again, I don't know who that's going to be. That's a topic for another day. But they need someone to come in here and stabilize things, because Jackson Dart's success does not rely on Brian Daboll. Jackson Dart wants to win because Jackson Dart wants to win. He doesn't give a shit about Brian Daboll if he's his head coach or not. Jackson Dart has a whole career ahead of him. He will move on. He will move on. Believe me, he'll move on. I don't give a crap what happens to Brian Daboll in terms of what happens in the rest of the season. Obviously, he's a decent guy. I have nothing against him as a human being, but as a head coach of this football team, he's hurting us. And I can't absolve Shane Bowen. And we haven't talked about Joe Shane. And the reason I'm not talking about Joe Shane entirely is because there is talent on this team. The coaching staff just simply isn't maximizing it. There's plenty of wrongs that Joe Shane has done too, but he is a much lesser kind of variable in this than I believe Brian Daboll is. I wouldn't be surprised if they both got fired. I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Shane survived. But to me, it's the coaches right now. Joe Shane's a different topic of discussion, I think. I'm not really going to go into him at the moment.
I'll go into him a little bit since you won't, because this kicker situation is equal parts Brian Daboll and Joe Shane. Listen, I feel for Jude McAdam. He's not an NFL kicker, and he went out there and was asked to make NFL kicks. That's not fair. I mean, cut him. I'm pissed off at him. I don't want to see him ever suit up on a game day for the New York Giants again. That much is for certain. But at the same time, why did the head coach not put a different kicker back there, a real NFL proven, tried and true kicker? Why didn't the general manager do something about the kicker position this offseason? Alex, how often, how many times throughout March, April, May, June, July did we say, I'm a little bit concerned about Graham Gano. I'm a little bit concerned about the Giants kicker situation. Maybe they should bring in another veteran to compete. Maybe they should look into taking the cap savings on Graham Gano's contract. Instead, here we are, Graham Gano. Shocker! He's on injured reserve. He's hurt once again. And the New York Giants didn't address the kicker position, and that is on the general manager. So it's equal parts Brian Daboll, Joe Shane, and Jude McAdam himself, because those are extra points. You have to fucking make those, man. It's not hard. It's what you're paid to do. It's why you're on this team. So it's everybody involved with that kicker situation, and that is one of the most frustrating aspects of this loss for the New York Giants, because that was such an easy win to secure, whether you're talking about running it on 3rd and 5, whether you're talking about just rushing after Bo Nix in the dying embers of the game and forcing him to throw it deep, whether you're talking about just making extra points. Every opportunity to win the game was right there in front of the New York Giants, and they squandered it. They beat themselves, and that's not the first time we've said that this season, and it probably won't be the last, and that is a coaching issue. That's why I'm done with this staff, and I am out. I believe in these players, though. I believe in Brian Burns, Defensive Player of the Year. That's what he should be. He's already got 9 sacks on the season in 7 games. He is incredible. Superstar, Spider-Man. Love watching Brian Burns play. Abdul Carter, absolute savage and menace. His shoulder pops out of its socket. He gets up and starts talking trash to the Broncos. That's awesome. We need more of that. Cam Scadaboo running like his hair is on fire, barreling through Broncos defenders, scoring touchdowns, putting up over 80 yards from scrimmage. More of that. I love Scadaboo. I've said enough positive things about Jackson Dart. You guys know I'm one of his biggest believers. Even Theo Johnson had a struggling first half, bounced back in the second half with some big plays. Wan'Dale Robinson was incredible in this game again. So many solid performances. How about the whole offensive line really put in some work, especially that left tackle, right tackle duo of Andrew Thomas and Jermaine Illuminor. I'm highlighting as many positives as I can right now because there were a lot of positives to take away from this game. On the field, the Giants have some damn good football players. But somehow, some way, these damn good football players can't win these football games. That tells me that there's a deeper lying issue that goes to the sidelines. On the field, there's talent. On the sidelines, there's a bunch of idiocy. That's the only way that I could describe what I saw yesterday. So, again, I'm over it. I'm pissed off. I didn't even think that I would have this much to say about this game, Alex. I thought that I was going to sit here and be kind of quiet because, listen, I'm getting apathetic about it again. I'm getting jaded about it again. But I will wrap up my final points before I hand it off again to you, Alex, to wrap up. The final point that I will make, the Giants are 2-5. They are still in the race for the NFC East. And I will hold on to hope that this rookie quarterback can keep them alive in that race. If they go into Philadelphia next week and they win, our vibes are going to be positive once again. This is a roller coaster season. We're getting used to the ups and downs. And if they win next week against Philadelphia, Jackson Dart will have us believing like, hey, maybe they can turn it around again, and they will have the tiebreaker over Philadelphia, and they will be one game behind Philadelphia. So hopefully that happens. But in the meantime, they've got to figure out how to make some changes, make some adjustments, and win football games. Because right now, the only thing that they have taught these players how to do is how to lose and not how to win.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know a lot of you guys really like Gruden and what his perspective is on things. So I'll read you a direct quote from him. Maybe this'll impact your opinion. So I think Wake Up Barstool with Portnoy and Greg Olson and Gruden, he says, you have to milk every single second of the clock. When you lose a game like this, the coach is going to be at fault, but a lot of people are at fault. So essentially, you look at the encompassing picture here. Everyone takes blame in this, but the coach is going to be at fault for this when it comes to the clock management. Right? Like, Jackson Dart is a rookie quarterback. You cannot expect him to manage the clock perfectly when he's just really getting his feet wet in the NFL. Like, he's going to have these problems. You need to have leadership in place to help him, guide him through those moments. Mike Kafka let him down, and Brian Dable let him down, right? That is ultimately what happened. So, moving forward, you talked about, Anthony, one win against the Eagles, the Giants are back in this division. They're going to be down a couple secondary pieces. They really need offensive support. I'm still on board with going out and getting another receiver because I do think the long-term benefits of that. I think if you do get somebody, though, it can't be a rental. It has to be someone who's under contract for next year. The long-term benefits of that will be you have this other receiver who has a ton of chemistry now with Jackson Dart going into next season and can really support Neighbors when he comes back as he eases back into things. And then obviously, is playing second fiddle to Neighbors. So there's a lot to gain from adding a player. And I don't think you're going to have to give up a second-round pick for like an Olave personally. You might only have to give up like whatever that would look like. I don't think you're going to have to give up first or second. So you could still get an Olave probably. You could still get Neighbors back next year and still have your premium draft capital to spend, and you could do whatever you want with that. Olave had 2 touchdowns and I think 95 yards this past week. So there's a lot to gain still. This season was always supposed to be a bridge, though. I want to remind everybody. We lost that game. But I went into this season thinking the Giants may not win more than 4 or 5 games. So, I mean, right now we're kind of still on pace for that, but I hope it's more. I do think that right now we have the most important answer of them all. The most important answer, Anthony. Jackson Dart is legit. Jackson Dart's the real deal. I don't give I'm going to be quite honest with you guys right now. I'm just going to sound pretty annoying. I don't give 2 shits what happens this season. Of course, I'd love for us to win the playoffs, make the playoffs, and make progress. I don't give 2 shits what happens this season. You want to know why? Because Brian Dable's already he's already a dead man walking, right? Shane Bowen's already a dead man walking. These guys are already on their way out. They're just getting through the rest of the year because the Giants don't like to blow things up at this point, this early in the season. Next year is where the expectations really kick in. Next year is when you get yourself a head coach with experience who's going to guide your young quarterback through these critical moments. He's going to guide your defense through these critical moments that you just need to win. You have to have the right play calls. You have to manage the clock properly. You have to have timeouts on hand. You have to know how to use them. You get a guy that's going to position your team to win and knows how to win late in games and close contests, and your quarterback will elevate to a whole nother level. A whole nother level. Because you want to know what happens when you win football games? It becomes the standard. You want to know what happens when it becomes a standard? Players elevate their performance. You want to know what happens when you elevate your performance? New players coming in elevate their performance. The Giants have gotten really good at killing talent. Brian Burns is playing above what this game plan has been from Shane Bowen. Guys are playing above the coaching. I hope you guys see that. The players are good enough that they're playing above the liabilities and weaknesses of our coaching staff. That's the only reason we've been in these games, because these players want it. It's that bad. The Giants got to cut the coaching staff, and they got to get some people in here that know how to freaking do their jobs, because the truth of the matter is, if they find that perfect blend with this talent on this roster and coaches that know what the hell they're doing, this team is going to be really good. They're going to be really good. There's one element. You got your quarterback, you got your star pass rushers, you have neighbors coming back, you can still add more pieces. You need to get the coaches in place, and everything will come together, and the quarterback will look like a superstar. That's it. Your offensive line is playing at an excellent level. I'd keep Carmen Brasillo. John Mara, if you clean house, hey Carmen, buddy, we want you to stay. No matter what happens, we want you. We need you here. Some guys survive, some guys don't. It's the way it is. But that's the most important thing, right? Your team is too good to be losing games like that. So who's to blame? And the Saints game too, there was a lot of really weird things that happened. Cowboys game, a lot of really weird things that happened. At some point, we got to stop blaming the players, man, because we already did that many years ago. Many years, the last couple of years, we've been blaming the players, blaming this, but it's the coaches. That's the only logical explanation for consistently losing in critical moments. So, that's where I'm at. Disappointed, but expected this. I'm not surprised. It just sucks the way it went down. It just sucks how bad it was. How historical that loss was.
Historical. Literally no other losses like it in NFL history. So maybe 5 at the most. So just embarrassing. But you're right. You're talking about, we used to blame players. Time to look at the staff. These losses that the Giants are having are very reminiscent to the losses that they had 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. All of their losses have had a very similar shape and pattern under Brian Daboll. And so you need to find the common denominator. And I think it's pretty clear what the common denominator is at this point. But that's pretty much going to wrap this one up, guys. Do make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. And comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, we will catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Jackson Dart.
Perfect.